You believe in the future of science, research, and medicine, in an open future full of possibilities. At Elsevier, we share that belief. This is why we feel privileged to serve you with reliable information and valuable insights, something we are proud to have done for over 140 years. Our tools put you in control. You can count on us in upholding the highest standards of quality and integrity. We play our part in building a better future for research, healthcare, and people everywhere. True, much progress has been made, yet challenges still exist. Challenges we want to meet through innovation, through partnerships, through accelerating you. So together, we can make a lasting impact on society. This is you. You are a researcher, or a funder, a librarian, physician, nurse, R&D professional, or health educator. Every single day, you dedicate yourself to accelerating progress in your field, to improving outcomes, not just for you, but for the global community you are part of. You believe in the future of science, research, and medicine, in an open future full of possibilities. At Elsevier, we share that belief. This is why we feel privileged to serve you with reliable information and valuable insights, something we are proud to have done for over 140 years. Our tools put you in control. You can count on us in upholding the highest standards of quality and integrity. We play our part in building a better future for research, healthcare, and people everywhere. True, much progress has been made, yet challenges still exist. Challenges we want to meet through innovation, through partnerships, through accelerating you. So together, we can make a lasting impact on society.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elsevier Expert Series webinar, Research and Societal Impact Innovation for the Future. My name is Johan Jang from Southeast Asia, and I will be your host and moderator for this session. Now, while we are waiting for more participants to join us, I would like to read a couple of announcements for this session. Okay, so the first one is this session is using Zoom webinar, which means that you are unable to unmute yourself. However, you can ask questions using the Q&A box available. Feel free to ask your questions during the speaker session. We will have the Q&A session at the end of both speakers' sessions. So information on slides, recording, and also e-certificates will be provided at the end of the session. So again, if you are also need e-certificates, we will provide the information later. Okay. So this is our agenda for this session. We will begin. I will begin by introducing our speakers, and then after that we will listen to our speakers. After that, there will be a closing remark and also announcement. So I see that more and more participants already join us. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. And you can also inform your colleagues, your friends that we will very soon begin our session. Okay, so to begin, the first thing that I'm going to do is to introduce our two distinguished speakers for this expert series webinar. So the first one is Yilan Scam. So Yilan is the director of Elsevier Foundation. So as director of Elsevier Foundation, Yilan Scam drives technology-enabled partnership to advance diversity in science, build research capacity, and support global health around the world. She has been an integral part of the foundation growth since joining as a program officer in 2008. In addition, Yilan currently serves as Elsevier's Director of External Partnerships, building on 15 years in corporate relations and responsibility roles, and focusing on key technology, gender, and sustainability collaboration. In August 2020, Yilan was appointed the chair of the Executive Council of Research for Life, a UN publisher partnerships to bridge access gaps for researchers and doctors in developing countries. The second speaker that we will have in this session is Mita Kuriakos. So Smita is the senior economist in the World Bank. Smita is a senior economist in finance, competitiveness, and innovation global practice in the World Bank. She is currently based in the Inclusive Growth and Sustainable Finance Hub, where she leads the work program on private sector development, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Her expertise in science, technology, and innovation policy, skills development, business environment, and competitiveness. Her work has covered over 20 countries. She has led regional flagships publications in the Europe and Central Asia, East Asia Pacific, and Africa region on innovation and entrepreneurship issues and multi-sectoral operations of both development policy and investment policy instruments. In East Asia and Pacific region, she has led policy dialogues on innovation and entrepreneurship in China, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. Smita holds graduate degrees in economics from the University of Maryland, College Park in the US, and the Delhi School of Economics in India. Okay, so without further ado, we will begin our session. So we already have Yilan right here. Hello, Yilan.
Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us from Amsterdam. I know it's still very early in Amsterdam, but thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for what you will share with us. I believe it's going to be very insightful and, of course, inspiring to all of us. Yeah. So, for our first session, over to you, Yilan.
Thank you so much. So let me just share my screen. And it's a real honor to be here with you today. Can you see my screen? Let me just check in with Johan.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Yes. So as Johan said, I'm the director of the Elsevier Foundation, and it's a role that I'm incredibly proud of. I've been working on the foundation since 2008, and it's really a source of such joy for me personally, but also just possibility. Really, I feel endless possibility because, it's not just about finding partners and giving grants. It's really about reaching into Elsevier, working with colleagues such as the ones you see here today with us who are hosting this webinar series, and pulling in the expertise, the content, the data, the analytics, the networks of researchers such as yourselves to really infuse these partnerships with life and open further possibilities. So I'll tell you more about that in a moment, but just to give you a sense what I'm going to cover today. In the previous expert series, I know that a colleague did a deeper dive into sustainability science, but I wanted to share a kind of more holistic vision of Elsevier's sustainability journey, just to set the scene for you, also in which the foundation operates. Give you a bit more background on Research for Life, which is doing some amazing things for research in developing countries, and of course the foundation. So let me get cracking. There's a lot I'd love to cover with you. And of course, everything we do is governed by the SDGs. And this just goes without saying. For the last 5 years, this has really been our agreed upon blueprint across so many different sectors. And so it's what we come back to. It's what we try and measure ourselves against. It's definitely a work in progress to do that, to map and to measure. For us, the number 17, the Partnership for the Goals, is really kind of the underlying foundation of everything we try to do. And I say we, I'm talking about the Elsevier Foundation, but I'm also talking about Elsevier, because I also have a hat within Elsevier, which focuses on sustainability and corporate responsibility. So helping to evolve Elsevier's journey around sustainability. So what do I mean by this? Well, back in 2015, when the UN was really getting organized and pulling together all the experts to try and map out this new SDG framework, evolving from the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, we realized we had a real contribution to make. And so this was the moment that our analytics colleagues sat down and created our first sustainability science report. So this was launched across the street from the UN on the eve of the SDGs, and it really tried to map out, what's happening in the world of sustainability science, where are the gaps, where are the strengths, which countries are doing incredible work in environment. At the time, 5-6 years ago, it was Germany and it was China that were really in the lead in that area. But always our goal is to equip decision makers, whether in academia or policy making, with the information they need to plan interventions, to add funding to certain areas, and so forth. So this was also, for us, a way to contribute at the very beginning. And from there, we continue to look at how can we, should we start new journals around green and sustainable chemistry? Should we publish a new series of books? What more can we do? But it was really kind of a soul-searching period in which you're trying to understand where you can make the biggest difference. And within the foundation, we launched quite a few new programs to align with the SDGs. But I think it really wasn't until this last, the 5th anniversary, which I won't say we celebrated, we marked it. I think we were not on track, as we all know. But what we did is we created a second report. But this was a much more kind of holistic approach, because it looked at not just to the sustainability science. And of course, we had evolved our analytics and our methodology. And I believe a few months ago, another colleague really went into a deep dive. But what we did was also to bring in our partners, to interview them, to try and really understand where is it that Elsevier can make the biggest difference. And we identified 4 key areas. One of them is SDG 3 health, because this is such a big part of what Elsevier does with its health research. And of course, it has a whole health side of the business, which is serving doctors, point of care tools, nursing students, medical and nursing students. So there's a huge part, and many of you will have seen our free COVID resource center, which is aimed over the last 2 years to serve all these different sectors with free resources. So there are many, many ways we're giving back around health. And also within the foundation, we have many global health projects. Gender, SDG 5 is huge for us. It's a big part of what we're trying to do within Elsevier, is to evolve our own role in the research ecosystem. So then I'm talking about gender balance in editorial boards. The conferences we run. We ran 50 scientific conferences. And what about the balance of men and women in terms of invited speakers? We've been able to boost that number from 15% 5 years ago at the start of the SDGs to 40% now, and we're still working on this. So gender's a big thing for us, and it's a big part also of what the foundation focuses on. And we have an amazing CEO, a very, very inspiring first woman CEO of Elsevier, Kumsal Bayazit. And she's a very strong proponent of gender equity, but also just inclusion and diversity across the board. So this also means that we don't just look at gender when we look at editorial board balance. We're also looking very much about geographic diversity. It's incredibly important that we have editors from all over the world, and not just the US and Europe and regions like that. So I wanted to highlight this quote that Kumsal, these words that Kumsal said. So this second report was really a call to arms. It was really saying, look, here, 5 years on, this is the state of the research. Let's look at this together and use this evidence base to help formulate our ambitions and our actions going forward. And, I was talking about our SDGs. It's still early here in Amsterdam, so forgive me. SDG 3, health. SDG 5, gender. SDG 10, reduced inequalities. A lot of what we're doing within the Foundation and Research for Life, which I will get to, and SDG 13, climate action, something we focused on very intensively this last year within Elsevier, which I'll also share more about in just a moment. So, I think you have to see this report as something we did to try and give back and to provide, a refreshed and renewed evidence base to the research community in terms of sustainability science, but it is also very much our own journey to understand where we can make a difference, where we need to work, really deepen our own efforts and work. So, for each of the SDG areas, except for partnerships, which still does not have quite enough research, we created in-depth infographics, which really tried to shed light on what's happening in each of the SDG areas in terms of global participation, impact, collaborations. So we have all of these snapshots available as standalones if you really want to know, what's happening around no poverty or your field of research. We can help you get these. One of the big things that we contributed in this report was an analysis of sex and gender in SDG research. So this was completely new, but we developed a methodology. We were kind of spurred by our Inclusion and Diversity Advisory Board. These are all external experts at Elsevier. And Elizabeth Politzer, she runs the founder of the Gender Summits on the board. She said to us, hey, what about sex and gender in the research itself? We really don't have any insights into that. And what we found was quite shocking, because what you see is that really the usual suspects, so gender and health, have quite a good integration. And this means that sex or gender are actually, mentioned, integrated, focused on, can be identified as keywords in the research. But most of the SDGs have, the remaining 14 have fewer than 40% of publications that include sex or gender. And many of them are just hovering in the single digits. I mean, take climate action, for instance, very low coverage. Only 4%. So this is just a really stark contrast, because what we know is that evidence is building that men and women experience climate change differently. And women are disproportionately affected because of this intersection of gender, poverty, and political engagement. And so, this is something that the global research community really needs to focus on. It's making sure that, we're not looking at hunger without taking the gender component into consideration. If you're going to have successful implementation, then it needs to be really, really targeted. And so if you're interested in learning more about this, there's a study that it's still in a preprint survey, SSRN, but you can see for each of the SDG areas, this has been mapped and tracked. And I think it's really good food for thought. And we're looking forward to doing more in this area. And then really wanted to just highlight that the three kind of main steers we got from our partners were to take a much more interdisciplinary, holistic approach. That's also the gender point. If you're really going to achieve these, we need to be looking at ways of involving all genders, nationalities, and disciplines to really identify the synergies between the SDGs. The other one is really that closing the gap between science, policy, and society, ensuring that there's greater cooperation and finding ways ourselves to support that cooperation and that dialogue. And then to be done together. It has to be done as a consultation if it's really going to succeed and be useful.